Quarters of our managers do not need to work financially. They have no reason financially to work. Probably 3/4 of them are worth at least $50 million, and we have some that are worth in the billions. And yet these people jump out of bed every morning and work, and they work weekends, and they love working. And why is that? And what's the key to that? The key really is the same reason I keep working. I'm 72. I'm getting Social Security now, so I should be in Florida, pushing shuffleboard around or something of the sort. But I do what I can do. Anything in the world I want to do. But what I want to do is run Berkshire Hathaway. I want to run it that way. There's a couple things. I get to paint my own painting. I go down there every day. And I feel like Michelangelo there, working on the Sistine Chapel or something. Nobody else may think it's a great painting, but I get to paint my own painting. I do not have people second guessing me. I do not have people saying, why don't you use a little more red paint than blue paint? Why don't you paint a seascape instead of a landscape? I get to do my own thing. It's a form of creativity. It's exactly like somebody feels it's a professional golfer or somebody feels it's a painter. They're not doing it for the money, primarily. They're doing it because they like doing something well and that it happens to be down the route of their talents. And the second thing I like, frankly, is I like applause. I like appreciation. So I like having shareholders who feel good about what I've done. I mean, I have a 96-year-old aunt, and her husband went to the University of Nebraska too. And she has all her money in Berkshire Hathaway, and she counts on me. And she's out in Palm Springs now, and her whole net worth is in Berkshire. And I've got cousins, and I've got everybody in our family has got all their money in Berkshire. And so those people are counting on me. And that's kind of fun to have something where you can actually deliver for other people and change their lives in positive ways. As a matter of fact, we had a couple that nobody had ever heard of up until a few years ago. The Othmers in New York. They came from Omaha. Not sure which high school she went to in Omaha, probably South High. They left $750 million when they died. Nobody had ever heard of them. And I think a substantial portion, went right here to the University of Nebraska. It was probably a total surprise to the university when they got, I don't know, you probably got 150 million or so. Yeah. Well, you should thank the Othmers, but nevertheless, you see the money, you see good things happening out of it. So it's fun. I mean, it beats playing golf every day or something of the sort. So I say, if that's what turns me on, what's going to turn on these managers that are out there running things like Clayton Homes, or we've got a company, Flight Safety, that trains more pilots than anybody in the world. Flight Safety is run by an 85-year-old man, Al Yulshi. Al started the company with $10,000 in 1951. It now trains 4 or 5 times as many pilots as non-military pilots as anybody in the world. And he is there at 85, and then it's a matter of public record. He's got $1 billion worth of Berkshire shares. He works 7 days a week. He loves it. And he loves it for the same reason that I love what I do. He gets to do it his way. He buys these big simulators that you train pilots in. He doesn't have to check with me as to whether to spend $15 million for a simulator. He doesn't ask me. He knows so much more about it than I do. Why in the world would he ask me? Well, I can't tell what kind of a plane I'm in, when I'm flying around. And Al is spending a couple $100 million a year on simulators, spending Berkshire Hathaway money, and he never checks with Omaha. He's never had to come to Omaha for any kind of meetings. He runs his own business. And that's what he loves in life. And I let him do it. I mean, that's my contribution to it, is really turning loose his energies. And they were properly directed before we bought the company 7 or 8 years ago. Why should I think that he couldn't keep running it after that? And like I say, at 85, he's still running it. The second thing that our managers like, in addition to this painting their own painting, is they too love applause. I report in my annual report accurately what they have accomplished, but they accomplished a lot. You heard Susan Jock, I think, some weeks ago here. Susan came to Borsheim's, and she was making $4 an hour. $4 an hour. Before she was 40, she became CEO of the second largest independent jewelry operation in the United States, from $4 an hour. But it's talent, and Susan knows more about, I don't know anything about jewelry, you could hand me a phony diamond or a real diamond, I couldn't tell the difference. But if I started telling Susan what to order in the way of jewelry, or if I started telling her what kind of terms to extend to customers or who to hire or anything like that, She doesn't need that in life. She really owns Borsheims. We have the stock certificate. We get the profits. We get accustomed to. But it's her baby. It's her baby. She decides, everything about that place. And so it's her creation. And that feeling of ownership is really extraordinary. And it's so much better. It's the way I like to work. It's the way Susan Jock likes to work. It's the way Al Yoshi likes to work. And Susan, like anybody else in this world, loves being appreciated. There'd be something wrong with her if she didn't. And the truth is, nobody appreciates her more than I do. She is a talent. We are lucky to have her, and we're lucky to have all of these other managers. So leadership at Berkshire really consists of taking a bunch of people who, in a baseball analogy, would be 400 hitters, and just handing them the bat and just telling them to get up their plate and take a big swing. There's very little to it beyond that. One thing I do is I send them a letter. We don't have meetings in Omaha. Some of our managers, there aren't any meetings, and there are no catechism or anything else. Once every 2 years, I send them a letter. This is it. Roughly one and a half pages or so. The only instruction they get from us. They don't send budgets to us. We don't care about those. Some of the companies use budgets, some don't use budgets. We adjust to them. Some of the managers I talk to a couple times a week because they like to talk frequently. Some of them I talk to literally once a year because they don't like to talk to me. And whatever, it's up to them. I adapt to them. The only thing I tell them, and this letter, which went out January 20th, 2003, it says it's been 2.5 years since my last memo. Now, how many big companies do you have the managers out there? Been 2.5 years since they've heard from the home office. Been 2.5 years since my last memo. Here are a couple things to keep in mind. And number one, and this is number one every time. This doesn't change. It won't change 2 years from now or 4 years from now or 6 years from now. Number one, we can afford to lose money, even a lot of money. We cannot afford to lose reputation, even a shred of reputation. Let's be sure that everything we do in business can be reported on the front page of a national newspaper in an article written by an unfriendly but intelligent reporter. In many areas, including acquisitions, Berkshire's results have benefited from its reputation, and we don't want to do anything that in any way can tarnish it. Last year, Berkshire was ranked by Fortune as the 4th most admired company in the world. This year, we were 3rd in the United States. They just published it. It took us 37 years to get there, but we could lose it in 37 minutes. And that's the message. We can lose money. It does, nicer to make money, but we'll figure out ways to make money. But we can't lose a shred of reputation, because you don't get it back. And you can, I said 37 minutes, but you can lose it a lot faster than that. You can lose it in 5 minutes. And it takes 3 qualities, essentially, to do well, and extremely well, actually, in this country. It takes intelligence, it takes energy, and it takes integrity. Now, everybody in this room has the requisite intelligence. You wouldn't be here if you didn't. It doesn't take 180 IQs, although I'm sure you all have those, but it takes reasonable intelligence. You're getting a great education. You've got the energy. That's why you've shown up in school. And it takes integrity. And I say, if you don't have integrity, we don't want to hire somebody that's got intelligence and energy if they don't have integrity. We'd rather hire somebody that's dumb and lazy if they don't have integrity, because they probably will never get around to cheating us or doing something of the sort. Last thing in the world I want is somebody that's lacks in. Mosher had intelligence and energy. And integrity is absolutely an option. You may not be able to throw a football 60 yards, and you may not be able to run the 100 in 9.8. You may not be able to sink 3-pointers but you can choose where you stand on the integrity scale. You weren't born wired one way or the other. That is an absolute choice you make. The heroes I've had in life have been the people that I felt stood out in that respect. My number one hero was my dad, but I've had other heroes, Tom Murphy, Ben Graham, people like that. The reason I admired them was not because they were the smartest people in the world, although they were plenty smart. And it wasn't because they made the most money. That meant nothing. It's really because I felt they were the classiest people that I ever met in my life. I saw them behave over year after year after year in a way that I could write their story on the front page of any newspaper, and even in an unfriendly tone, and I could not do anything that would embarrass them in the least. They behaved extraordinarily well. And having the right heroes, is terribly important. You tell me who a 10-year-old's heroes are, and I can give you a pretty good prediction about how they're going to turn out. You want to choose your heroes very carefully, because you're going to look like them at some point, and you're lucky if you've got the right ones. But in the end, just all you got to do is think about, do you really want what you're doing put on the front page of the paper tomorrow, to be read by your parents, by your spouse, by your kids, by your neighbors, by your coworkers? And if you're embarrassed about it, just forget about it.